Ooh, that's an excellent question. So we were just talking about this earlier today, and I'd say one of the simplest ways to describe what makes mind models different than mindset is there's three criteria that Blair set up for what makes a mind model. And the first one is that it has to be identifiable. So that means it's something that you can actually identify and label it. Secondly, it needs to be repeatable. And by that, it means you need to be able to repeat the action of doing it. So you've identified it and you can repeat it now. So that's part of the criteria. And the third part of the criteria to be considered a mind model is it has to be duplicatable. And by that, what Blair means is that you need to be able to teach it to someone else and transfer it to them so that they can do it as well. So that's a pretty simple way of looking at it. If someone's trying to give you a mindset tip, for example, and it's just be positive and have a good mindset, you could maybe argue that that's identifiable, but it's pretty weak.
Actually, I would argue extremely violently against
Yeah,
that.
and it's definitely not repeatable. You can't just tell someone that and they can, or tell yourself that, oh, I just need to have a good mindset and be positive and everything changes. So is that kind of what you're looking for, Blair?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
I would
So,
say, I think, and thank you, because people have asked me when I'm trying to explain it. And I've been saying, well, mindset is something you just do, and mind models is how you do it. So,
that actually is close because we go into mindset is all they talk about is what's.
right.
And mind models, we do what's, but we do a hell of a lot of hows because hows make the difference.
Right.
And hows are all about action. It's not all about opinion or what certain people do or whatever. And you can't just do, well, I stay positive.
Right.
Okay, how specifically do you stay positive?
You just
But,
do.
yeah, right. You just do. Well, again, does that meet the three criteria?
No.
No. And that's how come I went with the criteria, because you're not going to be able to switch people out of their belief pattern until you get them something specific.
Concrete.
So what's and hows, although they do describe it, are not identifiable, repeatable, and duplicatable. The how of it is contrary to the what. It makes it different, but it doesn't make it doable. Like simple enough to actually show people how it's different. And so I spent a long time thinking about that. So I'll just, like what Trevor shared again is sort of spot on. So if you want to tell people, it really is, mindsets are our mindset is just stuff. And like it's like positive thinking, and you can argue yet you haven't gotten there yet. Well, how do you get there? And people say, well, just keep on trying and you'll get there. I mean, that's all you got to do. Yeah. And I go, well, that's not good enough. And so my whole thing is identifiable, repeatable, duplicatable, in that order. That's what they got to be.
Would you call them strategies or techniques or tools?
Actually, they're, sorry?
I said that was a good question.
Yeah, it was. Very good question. And
I would call them
that would be that.
Maybe that's
yes, I agree they are tools, but technically embedded in every mind model is an action plan. So it's every mind model that I've set up is mostly, if you studied your own personal background in your own subconscious mind, if you just studied the subconscious, you'd probably find every single mind model in there that I've ever come up with.
Well, then I would label that as a technique then, whereas a mindset is more of a state.
Okay, I would disagree because although that's true, mind models get you to a state. They also give you tools, and they're also strategic. So mind models actually do all three.
Okay.
So they are a tool. They are a model that is strategic, and they get you to a state because they deliver a result, because they give you an action plan. So that's the weird thing about mind models.
So how do you describe them to someone who who's never heard of it? And
that's how come I go back to the simple three things.
Okay.
And that they're identifiable, repeatable, and duplicatable. That's the simplest model that is actually completely true on an ongoing basis.
Okay.
But do they deliver a state of mind? Yes, they do. Do they deliver an action plan? Yes, they do. Are they a tool? Can you perfect them and get them more and more, practice them like a set of behaviors? Absolutely, you can. So they were designed to be super simple, but do all three things. So that's what I had put them together. And getting clear is going to be stacking. Like tonight's mind model is getting clear. And so we're going to be stacking these concepts. And I've told you guys about stacking, how you use mind models to one on top of the other so that you get to where you want to go, or just enough that you can go there. You don't need to know all of them. You just need to know enough to get you consistently going where you need to go. And your brain, as your wife actually pointed out to us, John, a couple weeks ago. Hi. That when you got into chunking things down into 15-minute bites, a whole lot of things fall out of that. And that mind model of chunking down worked very well. And you also put in naming and labeling as the other mind model and chunked it down. So you stacked a couple of mind models on each other, and all of a sudden the fallout was you felt, or she said, you were behaving calmer, less volatile, a much more pleasant person to be around. So I go, and she's got her thumb up yet again. So there's some kind of spin-off effect that is working for you. But again, that kind of spin-off effect is identifiable, repeatable, and duplicatable. You've got this predictability. Does it work exactly the same way with everybody? No, but the same group of outcomes are repeatable, and duplicatable. So, I mean, it's probable, highly probable that this will work. Not guaranteed, because I don't know how your mind works and I don't know what other beliefs you've got to counteract it. But 80% of the time, it will work effectively. Okay? So again, I keep it simple, and I'm actually in the process of writing an ebook on mindset versus mind models. And I'm trying to recall some titles I came up with in Austin, Texas, because I got to go bug Tim again. Trevor, I got to talk to him, because I told him we had a conversation, and he came up with some brilliant titling and descriptors, as he usually does for my stuff. So anyway, I have to see if he recalls them, because I didn't write them down immediately. And
it wasn't in the bar, was it?
Yes, it was.
I suspected.
Yeah, really. Well, good sleuth there, Mr. Holmes. Okay, so let's get down to it. Hey, we've got a few more people on as well right now. So hi to the new Charles is on. Ainsley is on. So hey, well done. So glad that you're on here. So let's keep going here and dig in. So
what are we going to be talking about today?
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, what mind model are we teaching today?
Getting clear. So
it's not something versus something.
This one is not, but it's a stack of things. So, and clear is sort of an acronym. So for what it is that we do. So this one is actually a whole bunch of things that are stacked on top of one another, and simple processes that allows you to take a look at yourself differently.
Okay.
So one of the reasons that I did this is because companies were seeking a lot of clarity. And the companies that are seeking that clarity are looking for people that can make personal choice effectively so that they don't slow down processes. And so there was a whole huge debate in one of the client companies there. And it was a healthy debate for optimizing output and everything else. And I came away from that and it was a healthy debate, but it didn't wind up getting clear at the end of the day. So that was problematic for me. And so I went back and I kept on thinking about things and said, okay, how do we get things clear? And so finding clarity is a process of becoming clear. And so although we want to become clear and have that clarity, how do we do that? What do we focus our mind on? So, okay, John, best guess. And we're just going to start off with guesses right here. So what's the best guess for getting clear? What do you think we need to do?
Being in the present and asking ourselves, what is the goal that we're trying to accomplish?
You know what? That's very good. Being in the present is going to become part of that. And I'm just going to actually attempt yet one more time to hook my computer up and create a whiteboard that works. Cross your fingers, folks. I had it working earlier tonight. Yeah, there we go. And then we go here. And is that showing up? Is anything showing up?
You haven't shared screen yet.
Oh, shoot. Okay. That will probably determine
why Trevor gets the big bucks.
Yeah. Okay. let's just do this one. Okay, let's do this first. Whoopsie. Okay, so we're going to go here. We're going to go here. And we're going to go. There we go. Okay.
Well, while you do it, did you forget it? I was going to say, when I was doing all my speaking for my clients, I would ask, the very first thing I would ask, and I'd send them a sheet to get an idea of who the audience is and everything. But I would say, tell me what's the one thing you want them to leave with when I leave, when I finish.
Okay.
So
I've used that technique before. However, what is the one thing I will definitely, are you getting anything, by the way?
No.
No, you gotta press share.
I have been. I just tried this one more time. So now we've got a different issue. Tell me, what's one thing that you have that you'd like to leave with here, Jamie?
Good question. On being clear.
Yes.
Oh,
you see the screen.
Okay, yeah, you're just sharing your desktop, I think. Now.
Yeah, I know, but
the whiteboard.
I'll try this one more time.
I think I would like.
What is that one thing that you'd like to?
The steps
might be working.
The steps to get there.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. What the steps to get? Where's there?
Clear.
Okay. Clear.
Clear.
Okay. Cool. So, what's one thing that you'd like to work on today, John? What would you like to get? One thing out of today.
I'm thinking.
There you go.
I guess if I was just going to pick from the tree of gifts here, kind of a hierarchy of or some way of selecting the most appropriate mind model at the moment.
Okay, that one is, you will be able to get elements of that, but not the whole thing, because obviously I have not taught you guys all of the mind models yet.
Right.
Okay, so you will be able to pick out an appropriate one, but you said most, and that's iffy. Okay. With what you've got. In some cases that will actually work, but not necessarily all the time. Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to, and Nate, what's one thing you'd like to take out of today, our time together?
Well, I think just getting less confused. I mean, I guess I don't know if that's putting it the right way, but
any way you put it is the right way.
Okay,
well, where you're at.
I want less confusion, I guess,
cool.
And that's in my mind.
Great. So,
hey Blair, Dwayne said instead of why, what's next, what now?
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to move on as opposed to trying to do everything for everybody. Okay, so we're going to actually work on an acronym that I worked on and I found worked really well with companies and with individuals. So we start off just with, obviously, we're going to work on getting clear, okay? So what do we think, having any clue whatsoever, that, John, you said something before when I said, where do you think you want to go? And my inference from that was twofold. You could start with two things. Start with the end in mind, or get clear on results. But I found that asking people to get clear on results didn't work as well as if we actually got people really connected to results. So does that ring true for anybody? Actually, Nate, does that help you?
Yeah, it helped a lot, just that little bit.
So what helped specifically?
Well, I just from my first answer saying getting less confusion, but then when then to get to a specific result, then that immediately, I start, okay, what is the result I want? So.
Exactly. Thank you. So the next thing that happens is this question, and I'm just going to make this slightly smaller here and do that. What is the result I want? If you think about this for just a second, and it's not a goal, I don't have time to really dive into it on this one. I'm going to have to do one on goals versus results. There's a big difference between goals and results. But results, in short, well, goals are like playing horseshoes and hand grenades. Okay? It's like close counts. And you can win a game and never put a ringer around, like a horseshoe around the pin in the ground, and still win the game in horseshoes. Hand grenades, well, you know how hand grenades operate. Anything close enough kills the enemy. So you don't have to be particularly accurate close counts. But at the end of the day, in your life, when you start going close counts, close doesn't count. Close doesn't even cut it. And unfortunately, mindset is a game played by people who think that close counts. Okay? And close doesn't count. You have to get precise, and you've got to get actionable behaviors to get desired results. Not a warm, fuzzy feeling in order to get something sort of approaching a result that doesn't really get you there. That's not how people who are really effective play their game. So we want to get connected to results. That's the first thing. And we have, actually, I'll just switch back here. Perfect. Oh. And we're going to go right here. So when we actually start getting connected to results, and if you think of this process of getting clear, because I personally love the concept of starting with the end in mind, it really, really helps clarify things. But a lot of people don't get that sense of that desire, that specific result. And if you're playing for results, you're playing darts, not horseshoes or hand grenades. Because when you hit that bullseye, you either hit it or you didn't. And if it's right on the edge, you hit the wire and you don't even stick. So it's you're going after the bullseye. So what do you think we might have to do next? And I'm not trying to make you guys figure out what L means here, because it's a phrase. It's not an exact next thing that we do. So what is it that you need to focus on when you're building things backwards from the results? So Jamie, any idea?
Yeah, well, you're trying to set up the steps to get you to that result.
Absolutely. So what do you think that result might be?
That result might be.
Well, like when you're going for a result, what do you think you have to do to get that result? Sorry.
Hold on, I got to get my head around that. You have to do to get to that result. You're doing the steps to get that. You've set your goal, which then you need to do results to hit that goal. And so you're backing into the baby steps to get there.
Right.
To get clarity on what your.
Okay, you sort of said it, but I don't think you heard what you said. Okay, so you said baby steps. Right. What are baby steps? What's another way of saying that and thinking about it?
They are specific things that you do.
Probably learn the steps, huh?
That would give you forward motion to get to your result.
Absolutely. How do we organize that? And Nate, what did you say? Sorry.
You learn the steps. I don't know.
Learn the steps. You know what? That's very, very close. I go before you learn the steps. You can go learn the steps. So you could plug in learn here if you wish. Mm-hmm. So learn. And I'm going to go, it's supposed to be an N, or list.
Right.
Of next
steps.
Because I find when people don't list out their next steps, they jumble up their mind with all the stuff they need to learn and they get overwhelmed.
Yes.
Now, if you've got it very tightly defined on what you need to learn or what you need to list, you're fine. But I go write it down, list these puppies. Okay. So again, I don't disagree with that as learn as being a probable good one, but personally, I find a better one is list, is your ability to list. So I would go list of next steps, or your next steps. Okay, next area here. So once you've got that list, we want to play our game. And how do we want to play? For you who've been on the call already, I've already done this one. And what's language? How do we go with getting a language pattern that works for us?
Execute?
Too early for execute, actually. And it's not bad. That's a good one. But I take a look at this and I go here. I want it to be effective. And how come effective? John. Well, actually, I'm going to pick on John. How come effective?
Like, I mean, I guess you could do a lot of things, but effective is what's going to get you to your result.
Absolutely.
You waste a lot of time doing ineffective things.
Right. And remember back 2-3 weeks ago when you were on and you did start chunking things down, we were taking a look at evaluation versus judgment was one of those.
Right.
And what kind of language do you have when you're judging yourself?
Right, wrong, good, bad.
Yeah. And then the following week we did effective versus ineffective. Right?
Right.
And that effective versus ineffective, when you stack that on top of judgment versus evaluation, you kicked into full-time evaluation and you tended to stop judging yourself.
Right. It brings a clarity and it takes the pressure off.
Absolutely.
There's so much pressure associated with the judgment. And when you just go to evaluation, then it's just very forgiving, but while at the same time has a lot of accountability.
It has a ton of accountability and it has a lot less pressure. I wouldn't say that it's no pressure, but no. I'd say that it's minimal and just what's needed to get the job done. You know, like you feel, oh, I can do this. And you feel more inspired than, oh, shit, I got to get this done. You know, like it's another thing that you have to do. So that's how come we go after the language pattern of effective. Well, it's effective. Ask yourself, what here might be effective? And so you build on effectiveness as opposed to effective versus ineffective. Let's just stick on the effective side. Okay? Okay, the next area that I want to play with here is going here. And we got to get an A in here. And that A is Canadian. No, I'm just kidding.
Action.
Because guys, come on, lighten up. It's okay. Okay. What do you think? And Nate, your thing was for execute is sort of, it was a good one, but it fits here now. Once you get a list of your next steps that you are not judging yourself on, that are effective with yourself and who else? Everybody around you who needs to understand this stuff, you all got to get on the same page, and that's effective. And you've got a list of next steps so that you can get on the same page and be effective. What do you think the next thing is to do? And Nate, you were very warm.
Action.
Right. Perfect. And I go action oriented because sometimes it's not, you have to test things out. But it's the key thing here is to do it so it's action oriented. It can be just action, like take action, because that's definitely action oriented. But when I go with action oriented, it's got to be something that I'm moving towards making an action happen. And I might need a couple of steps to be effective to get into action. But my whole thing on getting clear is I must be able to take action on whatever it is. Now, let's say I am planning a business trip or whatever, and I'm thinking of what I have to do when I get there. Well, I can't take the action now, but I'm planning it out, and that is action-oriented of what I need to do.
Got it.
Okay, so that's the difference if people are wondering, what's the difference? Well, that's it right there. Then R, we've got clear. That's it. What do you think clear is going to be about here?
I know. I think.
Go for it, Jamie.
To reevaluate.
Actually not. Geez, I really thought you'd have that one.
I thought you'd reevaluate now after you actioned and then.
No. But what do you need to go towards?
Results.
Right. Exactly. That is perfect.
I was
How come
overthinking it.
results now? How come results here and here?
That's a good question.
How come?
Because that is number one, it's measurable. Because you've hit your results, you've hit your goal, and it's measurable and it's repeatable and all the things you want it to be.
Absolutely true.
That's your two data points. You've got the result you wanted and the result you got. Now you can compare the two and evaluate.
Exactly.
Yay.
That is it. So compare, and that's what I was going to write down here, is just in this whole thing when you're connected to everything here is compare what you wanted with what you got. Okay. And that's it right there, guys. That's how you get clear. And what do you think, John, since you nailed that last one on evaluate, compare the start to the end, and you go back and now you evaluate, what happens if you don't get what you want?
You iterate again.
Right. And that's like, just think about it. You know what didn't work. Does that help you get clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. Like, again, you guys, the thing that I love about when I figured out mind models is, does it matter if you make a mistake? Is a mistake a good thing or a bad thing?
It could be a good thing.
Neither. It's information.
You know what, John? You're really killing it tonight. Like, absolutely right. It's sort of neither, but I tend to
just
go,
results.
Yeah. Sorry, Trevor, say that again.
I said it's just results.
It's just results. You're right. But the cool thing here is it's results that gets you further down the line. So a mistake is neither good nor bad. It's information that gets you a direction of not to go.
What it's still action oriented.
Correct. You were right back to what action orientation do we need to do now that we know that it didn't work? And where do we have, I don't know of another problem solving model that actually allows us to engage this way, to actually use our, what people would call failures, as a huge part of our success. That's cool, I think.
It is.
Very cool.
Yeah, and that's what mind models do. They allow us to iterate, to go over and over and over again, each time figuring out what's close and what works. And when we get there, we have a win. And if we don't get there, well, we know we can iterate again and get there again. When I came up with this model, it actually was when I was discovering a counseling methodology that I teach and a coaching methodology, but it was for the counseling and then converted it into a coaching methodology called operant effectual coaching or operant effectual counseling. And really what that is, it's about getting people to recognize that iteration works so that they can get resourceful rather than judging themselves as being a failure. Because think of this, how many times were in school when you made a mistake, you viewed yourself as bad or wrong, and that this was a bad thing, making mistakes? Elon Musk said, I require people in my company to make mistakes, because if they're not making mistakes, they're not innovating. And you've got to be able to make mistakes.
Yeah, but people are taught from little kids that mistakes are bad.
Yes.
And
but okay, I want to dive into that one. Mistakes are bad, but where was that whole thinking generated? Who does most of the teaching on that mistakes are bad? Is
Parents.
that, pardon me?
Parents.
Parents or our school?
Oh, schools do though. Too.
Yeah, school does it massively. Parents reinforce that because it's status of their kids. They want the kids to do well, and so they get told that they're. I mean, I'm the product of a school system back in the day that, you know, because I had a learning disability, I was dumb, stupid, bad, and wrong, and I should be punished for that, which they did a few times to me, more than a few. But just because I had a learning disability, because I obviously wasn't working hard enough. And at the ripe old age of 6 in grade 1, I was putting in an hour's worth of homework or more every night and doing my best and still not doing well. Today, if you think of that, what era, you know, go back 40, 50 years, what era were we in? We were at the height of the Industrial Revolution. And that Industrial Revolution mindset had it where machines were absolutely, whoopsie, just 2 seconds here. Machines were completely...
it rained on your computer.
Yeah, it did. But machines were completely mechanical, and they worked one way consistently, creating a consistent output.
Right.
And society was operating off the same belief that everybody has to be in alignment, everybody has to walk and march to the same tune and everything else. But we live in the information age. And the information age is moving so quickly that we have to be adaptable. And the only way you adapt is by making mistakes and seeing that if some of those mistakes, it's like genetics, like we are, like a human being is actually a stack of genetic accidents, you know, in fact. And I look at that, and for us to learn how to adapt to a situation, we have to be able to make mistakes faster. Nate, thoughts on that? Because I see you smiling away there.
On making mistakes and or mistakes not really being mistakes.
Mistakes not really being mistakes.
They're just learning experiences.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the more that we can not just buy it and believe it, but live it, the more effective we are.
Yeah, I'm learning that, you know, just through these mind models. I've picked up a lot in the last week or two, and it's really helped me a lot. Just saying, okay, a result, or even if it's not what I wanted, might be better just to learn from that and move on. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good to be able to evaluate instead of judge it.
Absolutely. And Dwayne is still pitching in here, by the way, guys. So Dwayne says, failing fast, falling forward, which is one of the other mind models that I talk about, is like, that's really what what you have to do. You have to fail fast in order to fall forward and have wins. That's what rich people do all the time. They just stack little incremental mistakes against each other to know which direction to go in. And then they test those out and see, hey, something here worked. It still isn't very good, but it's better than the last one. It still isn't making me money. So I'll test and test and test. And now maybe I'll try something else. And it still is a failure. It's still not making money, but you know a direction to tweak things in so you can literally transform yourself and make things happen more effectively. And Charles, to all panel results, because you start with and finished in mind, scientific method. compare results to hypothesis. Absolutely correct. Like, this is all an adaptation, a functional adaptation of the scientific method, but done from a behavioral perspective. So I'm a behavioral scientist, and I went to college. Actually, I created my own college. It was called Life Skills College. It was based on that $42 million 5-year study done by the government of Canada to define coping, problem solving, and success skills that people need in their lives. When you start looking at what those fundamentally are, all of those were tested and laid out, and they were firing away on what words, down to words, work. So I got to give credit to the government on coming up with MIGHT, because they spent, probably $30,000 to $50,000 scientifically proving that MIGHT is the word to use. Don't use would, could, should, like, want. Use MIGHT. And then after they figured out just by testing all these words, they broke it back down and said, well, obviously it's MIGHT. After the test was more or less done, when I was actually talking to one of the fundamental researchers, he said, we didn't write this up, but Blair, here's what it comes down to. We could have done this in an hour, because all we have to do is look at the subconscious meaning. Like, all meanings of words reside in our subconscious. And if you just take a look at the predominant meanings that most people know about MIGHT in context, it means two things predominantly and one minor one. The two things that it means is power and possibility. So what you do is you combine when you use the word MIGHT, you're telling that person in front of you or yourself to have powerful possibilities. That subconscious meaning is there. So what might I do? Well, I might do this and this and this and this and this. And they didn't bother taking it any further than that. They just took it there. And I did my research after talking to Professor, actually, he was Dean of, I should call him Dean, Phil Warren. And Miss Dean Warren, it was the head of Kwantlen University College Psychology Department. And we would have these debates. He was also one of the key psychologists working on the research up here, and with about 40 other brilliant psychologists from all around North America. And they were putting these tests. I was up there, actually. My mom was up there learning life skills coach training. And I went up there to visit her because I hadn't seen her for months. And it was great because they had two-way mirrors so that they could literally videotape people with just that mirrored glass, like that mirror, and just videotape what's going on, record it, videotape it, and then play it back over and over and over again, and start breaking out what are those behaviors that people do that work. So there's a lot of scientific method in the fundamentals. We had videotape recorders, but we also test out a little bit more practically than pure scientific method. We did it functionally, and functionally, we test out the meaning of specifically. And how many ideas, just literally asking hundreds of our students, how many ideas pop into your head when we ask you to say specifically. And I've already taught this mind model. I'm just putting back into clear. When you go into clear, getting a clear mind, you want to go specifically again. So you want to get your mind focusing on what might I do specifically, and you'll get 2 or 3. The average is 2 or 3. Okay, even though it's specific. I thought it would be 1, but it's not. It's 2, sometimes 3. It's almost never 4, and it's almost never 1. So actually, it's more possibly 1 than 4. But anyway, it's a curve there. And at the end of the day, you wind up going into that, and then you just ask now or right now, and people pop into a single decision. so that you can help people make up their own mind. You can help yourself make up your own mind just by saying, so what might I do specifically now or right now?
So you're stacking the 3 magic words with clear.
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's the lesson tonight, guys. That's what I wanted to get across, of saying, okay, when you stack clear, and clear is, I'll just for summarizing again, is the C is connected to results. The L is list out or list of next steps. E is effective. A is action oriented, and R is results. In the list, you actually do want to number them, like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and so on. You want to list out your steps so that you can test your organizational pattern. So that you want to basically get yourself doing it and knowing that that is the next step that you need to do to accomplish and get your result. It's not a goal orientation, because a goal will get you a little bit more scattered. So go after result. And then if you get stuck anywhere, what might I do specifically now? Okay. And that's about it. So, I'll start with Jamie. You popped your head up first. Sorry. So, what's your takeaway from tonight?
Well, it's great because I am working on a couple of projects and have been doing too much. And so I'm going to take this nice little model tomorrow, matter of fact, and do the steps and see if I can get further down the road. So I'll let you know how that goes.
Please. Yes. Excellent.
That was perfect. Perfect timing.
Perfect. Glad it helped. Nate, how was this for you?
Well, I think I'm right with Jamie there. I said a little less confusion to start, and this will help that for sure. And I like the action, the plan to do it and list the next steps to get to the result. But, it's a little process even to figure out exactly what that result, that you want, I think.
Yes, and I don't have time to do all of the mind models to clear up everything, but there is other mind models that could be stacked on top of that to get that. But one of the things that you can ask, the fastest way I know how to do that, is just ask yourself the question, if nothing stood in my way, what is the result I want?
The one thing.
The one thing. Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
What is that one thing? What is that one result I want?
By the way, that's a good book by Gary Keller, if you need to read one. It's called The One Thing.
Right. There you go.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. And it simply is just one thing.
Yeah.
And listen, I can't stress this enough. Stop. When you ask yourself that question, just sit with it. Don't think on it. Don't overwork it, but just sit with it and see what pops up. And we had a thing back at Life Skills. We said, trust the process. And the process of your brain, you got to give your brain a chance to, you can get all woo-woo on this shit right now, but it's not about woo-woo. It's about your brain needs time to process. From a neurochemical point of view, it'll take between 2 and 20 minutes for you to figure that out. Okay? Just waiting for an answer to occur. And most of the time, we give it 2 or 20 seconds for it to appear. And I go, park it, put it in there, see what comes out. You know, a lot of people who have learned meditation sort of just go into meditation and meditate on it. Well, what are we doing in our brain? We're actually causing ourselves to connect and grow new new ganglia to have our neurons connect differently. So we're allowing time for our brain to get resourceful. And that is quite honestly what I wind up doing is I work all of this work in mind models, all of it is not focused on finding solutions. It's not got anything to do, well, it's got a lot to do with resolving and finding results, but we're not finding solutions. We're working on broadly how the brain problem solves. It's exercising problem solving processes, not having the right answer. So back in school, again, going back to our education system focuses us in on memorizing and getting the right answer according to the textbooks or whatever. And yeah, see you, Dwayne. Take care. Have a good one. He's jumping off. He's got to go. So anyway, that whole thing here is the key piece of what has motivated me to do what I do, because nobody's really focusing on how do you get resourceful. And I'd rather be resourceful and be able to plug in problem solving processes into my life than have all of these answers that are one-offs, especially since so much is changing so fast. John.
Is that an example of content versus process right there?
Exactly. You nailed it again.
Is the solutions, whereas the process is the problem-solving process.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
You're nailing stuff tonight. You're getting. Yeah, somebody's doing it. He's doing it. He's the man tonight.
He
so
is.
Well done, John. Because that's exactly what it is. That's the difference. Okay, because if you work on process modeling is highly adaptive. It doesn't always give you a perfect answer, but it always gets you closer to a more effective answer. And once you have that effective answer, you keep on using the process modeling and know how to incrementally adjust it so that you're constantly staying on that edge of winning. And we do this all the time when I've got an email company and I'm teaching, well, I'm not teaching them, but I'm applying this mental working strategy there. And we've got people that are now like sometimes making over $1,000 a day. And usually 200-300, but they've had breakthroughs where they're doing it. But they were starting at $5 to $10 a day. And now they're averaging, about $500 to $600 a day between the six of them. And that means that they're doing, $175 to $200 each a day, with highlights and high days where one individual actually did over $1,600 in a single day. Found the right market, the right situation, right scenario, and boom, had it. And it's all incremental learning. It's not about having a right answer. It's being able to find things that are effective in the moment.
Charles asked, can you define a difference between a goal and a result in this context? And I could probably give an example.
Okay, go ahead.
For example, I need to work on getting my fan page up and writing an ad, and there's all sorts of things, and I have these goals to get those done. However, I've got resources all of a sudden from several places, and so that goal is great, but all of the noise is confusing things. And so one of the things that I'm going to do tomorrow is just sit down and write exactly. And I really already have the steps, because one of the companies that I deal with already walks you through the steps. And I allowed the other things to start get, I'm like a squirrel. and so I'm not meeting my goal. I'm not getting results because I got a great goal, but I don't have the steps to have the results to meet the dang goal. So does that help?
I want to take it a little bit broader and more specific at the same time.
Okay.
I appreciate your answer. Valid. I want to give it a different perspective. The word goal and the word result actually has different meanings in the dictionary. It's something that you move towards as a goal, and a result is something that you acquire, you have. Okay? It's very specific. It is not broad, it's not general, it's not all of those things. And a dear friend of mine who is Carol McKenzie, she spent years, she became, I trained her up as a life skills coach years ago, and she went back down to Washington, and she was a special needs teacher in the state of Washington. They had this thing where she had to teach goal setting. And she was a special needs teacher too, by the way. And they required this element of goal setting. And she phoned me up one time and said, Blair, I have a problem. They're making me do goal setting again, is what she said. And it didn't work the last 3 years. We got everything was really low. The percentages of people that actually attain their goals, because they have to measure all of these things. So the goal setting stuff was way 22% successful.
Not good.
Not good. It was actually, they were quite happy with it overall because it was higher than the average that they were getting, which was around 12 in other people's special needs classes. So she was approaching that 50% range that the school was hitting for the normal kids. But in the special needs class, I said, okay, let's just pay attention to this. And can you change one? She said, we can't change the curriculum. I said, can you change one word in the curriculum? She said, oh yeah, I can do that. Great. Replace goals with results. Just that simple. Just replace goals with results. Teach everything the same. She had 80 or 82% success rate just by doing that. The meanings of the words drive our actions. So I don't listen to what you say. I listen to how you say it to profile people. But how you say words infer meanings. And what meanings did you apply to that specific word? And I look at that and I go, holy crap, that means I could understand you and potentially profile you, and throw that together with question concepts and belief systems, and you start getting the meanings of the words that are underlying. That actually is pretty cool. That gives
that makes sense though, because if I'm focusing on doing all that as a goal, that's very wishy-washy. I mean, it's a good intent, it's a good feeling, it's good all that, but it's not result oriented.
Right. And it also gives you a very nice out if you don't hit anything close.
Right.
Because it was a goal. You don't have to hold yourself accountable.
Right. So tomorrow I'm doing results.
Good. And just by switching that one word up in your brain can provide significant improvement.
I can see that.
Yeah. It's not small.
I think it's like using the word specific.
It might specifically and now, like the same thing, like all of those have specific meanings that create that thought funnel. Yeah. So go back and take a look at might specifically and now, that one. If you need a refresher, jump back on that and find it in the earlier webinars. Okay. Okay. With that, Trevor, hopefully you're still there and not.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Was wondering if you could move people back to participation.
Sure.
Hi, Nate. It was a pleasure.
I'll boot everyone.
Before you do that, just before you do that, So how effective on a scale of 1 to 10 was this for you, Nate?
For me, this was I guess you shoot for an 8 and I hit that easy.
Oh, okay. No, I'm not in this area. 1 to 10 is 1 to 10. That's on profiling. I shoot for an 8. But so anyway, okay, Jamie, 1 to 10.
This was game changer for me.
Okay, good. Awesome. John.
I'll go with that.
A game changer too? So what number, like, again, you guys are giving me goal thinking. I need specifics. So throw a number at me. Nate gave me an 8.
10.
10. And Jamie?
10.
Okay, I'm not, okay.
Real quick though, one of the things though is that it's not that I didn't know that. It's that I didn't have it in those steps, in the order. So I knew. So that's the game changer. I knew what I need to do. But this gets it down into that result oriented thing and not in just let's hit a goal. Like you said, it gives you an out, and I've been using it as an out.
Yep. Now, the other thing here is we are going to step this up, like, well, you just stepped it up. But as I said earlier on, everything I teach in terms of mind models, you probably know at least subconsciously. What I'm doing is okay. So John or Jamie, you were asking how do you describe it? This is where it's identifiable, it's repeatable, it's duplicatable, and it's probably all stuff you already know, but you don't have it organized, and it's in your subconscious part of your brain.
Yeah.
Would you like to learn how to access your subconscious on cue, on command? Because that's what mind models do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. Like I said, tonight's was a game changer out of all the ones that I've listened to. It kind of turned something.
Cool. Very, very cool. Because that's really what it's all about, is causing people to have those moments of clarity and just go forward. So,
I am clear.
Good. And you're getting clearer. Okay, so thank you so much, guys. And if we go back to participants, we can see who's around and wishes to.
Did you see Charlie's comment? He was asking, so in this case, results are what you gain on the path to achieving a goal? ? Did you see that comment?
Mm-mm.
You know what? Oh, right. Thank you for bringing that up, Trevor.
And that's Charlie from the convention, by the way.
Oh, cool. Hey, Charlie. Charles, not Charlie. So this one's Charles.
I'm pretty sure that's Charlie, but
just let me know. If that's you, Charlie, that would be great. If it's Charles, that's fine too. But anyway, so in this case, results are what you gain on your path to achieving a goal. No, it's not. These are what results have. I have a whole thing on. It's called an IBR. You set your desired result, and people can call it a goal. I guess you could call it a goal. I just don't find goals work as effectively. So, hey, yeah, it is you. Awesome, buddy. So, it just doesn't work as well as a goal in most people's minds. And so when you build results, you are working towards a desired result, which is what I ask people to do to replace goals with, is call them in their mind a desired result and get it tighter and more specific than a goal. Because one of the goals that one of the company's sort of big motto was, well, we're going to shoot for the stars, and if we hit the moon, that's fine. And then I turned around and walked in and asked them in a C-level meeting, so like after that was there, and said, what if the moon's in a different direction? You're never going to hit it. So like you're shooting for stars because stars are all around, but the moon, if you hit the moon, well, what if you're not? Either that or you're firing blind and hoping for the best. So it doesn't tend to work great. Get specific. Figure out what exactly you want that result to be. Put numbers to it if you can, or put even a number range. It's sort of like, again, back to shooting darts. There's not a pinprick for the exact place, there is an area that is defined on the dartboard that is a bullseye. It's a small area. It's not the whole thing. And when you define it as that small area, that is going to be a desired result. You gain clarity, you gain self-confidence if you win. So it really, really does work well. So results are more short-term measurable achievements, and goals are blue sky, North Star. They're definitely blue sky. Because people generally, I've done a number of surveys back at Life Skills. I surveyed our students, and when you do, if you take and you ask people, I got to pull up what those results were, but you survey people on, most people will make a set goals for what they want to achieve New Year's Eve. They'll make New Year's Eve's resolutions. Virtually 100% of people saw that New Year's Eve resolutions was a goal setting activity. When it's an individual, you will find that less than 10, I believe the thing was less than 10% of people actually achieve things that they call, I got to my goal. They have 0 wins. 10% of the people have some wins. When you take it to companies, I found that most executives who hold things as goals have a 30 between, depending on the corporation and the culture, was a 30 to 45% likelihood of attaining that thing that they said was a goal. I had one company that argued with me and said, no, we've got a 50% of our goals. And they actually hired me to evaluate how come only 5 out of the 15 goals that they actually got, which fell into the 30% range. But there are, anyway, I don't want to get into it. That was their statement. I'm just telling you what they said. So it was 50%. The result was that I was hired to figure out how come the $150,000 that they paid for a management consulting company to come in and write out SMART steps, that's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, results did not work. And that's another lesson. And I figured that one out, went back in, and you can say the rest is history. But SMART doesn't work because most people think of SMART goals as goals. They're not results. So anyway, okay. So with that said, let's hopefully, Charlie, that works for you and that gives you stuff to work on. Love your comments here, Charlie. And Dwayne, I know you've left, but it was excellent seeing what you commented on as well here. So perfect. And Jamie, or yeah, really, goals, no more, just results. Perfect. Okay, so anybody want to be profiled tonight? I think I'm going to try and keep time tight. It's 15:15, roughly 13 after. I'm going to try and wrap this up by 8:30. And anybody wishing to raise their hand to be profiled, please just raise your hand in the chat. And there's Rebecca. Hand is up. Cool.
Okay, I will bring you on, Rebecca. Okay.
Hey, Rebecca, mic in the corner. You have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
I can now. Super.
Awesome.
So, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, Blair?
I'm doing awesome. So, yeah, nice to see your face this time. I've seen you. You've been here before a few times.
Yeah, on and off. Yeah,
Yeah,
my husband usually catches the replays on those. I'm usually putting kids to bed, so.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I'm glad
I gave him that job tonight.
Awesome. Good.
Is this the Rebecca that we've been messaging back and forth with?
It
Yes.
is.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure.
Yep, it's
Cool.
me. I appreciate you guys' quick response on that. That's awesome. So.
No problem.
No worries. We try to do our best.
Yeah.
Okay, so fill me in. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Rebecca.
Well,
You're a mom?
I am a mom. I have 2 little girls, aged almost 2 and 6. They keep me busy.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Busy ages. Yes.
Yes, they're great. And actually, I love what you've been teaching because I've been able to start to incorporate that with my 6-year-old. She's very inquisitive and curious, and sometimes that's stressful for me. Like
Yes.
knowing how to answer the multitude of questions without saying the 3-letter naughty word all the time.
Yeah. That one that rhymes with a letter Y, or is the
right?
yeah.
That my name ends in. No.
Yes.
So it's been great to be able to, since we heard you speak at No Excuses, something clicked, and both my husband and I are just like, oh man, like we need that in our lives. So we've tried to incorporate it. Like I said, mom of 2 girls. I feel like I got a weird echo, so I'm sorry.
We're not. I'm not.
We don't have it.
No echo. Okay, cool.
No echo.
But my husband and I just recently started into the entrepreneurial world and getting our ducks in a row and moving forward and finding kind of our voice and where we need to be and how to focus on things. So
Cool.
in a nutshell.
Hobbies.
I love anything outdoors. Love to canyoneer, love to hike, bike, climb. Nature's my happy place. Probably because there's less noise and confusion there. It's simpler.
Nice.
Enjoy, we go to movies and things like that as well. But typically, anytime we have a chance, like every 3 months, historically, we have had to get out of the city and go away from where we're at, just kind of like change locations to have that reset time. So, I mean, we're open to just about anything. I mean, I've skydived before, enjoy going to the mall, like art, like museums and things like that. So really like.
Okay, I've got enough. If you want to keep going, you can, but.
No, you're good.
Yeah, okay. I was trying to be semi-polite and just wait until you quit. Okay, so fill me in on what you'd like to be profiled on, Rebecca.
That's a difficult question because the idea of being profiled and what I'm stuck on.
What are you stuck on?
Clarity.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
About where to go in business specifically.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Just that's okay. Leave it to me. I'll work on it because it's not just clarity. It's also decision making and how you organize your mind. You know what? I totally get how come you guys latched on to mind models at NES. When you're thinking of it. Anyway, that doesn't help you. I get it. There's been lots of things that you guys are going through, and you keep on figuring out where you are, and you don't have you have a happy place. It's outside in nature because it's quiet. It's naturally quiet, and it doesn't overwhelm because it's there. And this is sort of semi-coaching, semi-profiling. You're going to need to start developing that happy place inside you, as opposed to have it externally there for you. If you haven't gotten into meditation, you might want to. Yoga, if you would also work, that sort of thing. And not for the exercise, but take the classes that allow you to calm down and find that inner peace, as it were, and clarity. Your language pattern is one of a lot of internal judgment, and you don't inflict that on people around you. You take that in, you tend to hold it within you, and hence your need to decompress on a fairly regular basis, because you are compliant to other people's needs, not overly demanding, but yet you are very demanding on yourself, and you don't know what it is that you can do to change, and that has created stressors for you internally. So you got to sit back and get comfortable with you. And you don't know quite how to do that except by putting on this outer shell of what appears to be comfort, what appears to be calm. And it is calm and comfortable to a degree, don't get me wrong, but it's not, it doesn't decompress you at the end of the day. So that's how come I'm suggesting that happy place of yours, so that you can actually wind up being okay. You may need to find a place to vent, to share. I think your husband and you can I'm going to just sort of go here because your frustration with things gets built up, but you don't necessarily always share it as effectively. I'd like to sort of suggest that if you haven't figured this out, to start figuring it out. How can you share the frustrations to each other without the other person taking on the frustration of the other? And that isn't working well. Like both of you tend to take on other people's frustration and want to make it go away. I get it. I mean, you love him, he loves you. That sort of is very mutually reciprocal, but you're getting into work with each other. Melissa and I wound up, and now my daughter, that works with us actively, we wound up creating this little thing here. And the thing is venting. Venting is just saying stuff to somebody, because when you literally try and say it to a wall, which I've tried many, many times, it doesn't work. Yet saying it to a person and just letting them know, I'm venting, I don't need you to do anything about it, and they practice letting it go in one ear and out the other, because if I don't tell my wife that I'm venting, she will try and fix me. Okay? Because she loves me. She doesn't want me to be in that state. She will work her ass off trying to fix me. And I will just get frustrated with that, because I don't need to be fixed. I just need to vent off some of the stuff too. And so I now, not always, but, frequently, I wind up saying, I just need to vent. And then and she says, okay. It's that slight pause of, I got to put that in the correct frame of mind, and let's just let it go, and then just vent and share it. Okay. You might find that works with each other. So have them watch the replay. Yeah.
Okay. In a few hours.
Cool. Cool.
Awesome.
So this is going to be effective, and try venting. See what just saying, I need to vent works, because that may help you gain a perspective. I really do find the funny thing is that when people hear themselves talk about the problem without somebody interrupting, saying anything, but to a person, it seems to make a difference, and a rather significant one usually. Anyway, back to you. You are going through quite a bit of a transition. You aren't clear on the direction that you're going. So that's one of the things that I would suggest needs to happen here, is starting to work at getting clear, asking more effective questions, defining your results that you want, and not actually, don't hold back. Do a brainstorming session on the results that you want. Make them crazy big. Doesn't matter. And then define the ones that you think you can work on to get to one of the biggest desired results that you want. So figure out the next steps, in other words. And it's just by creating something that goes in a direction. I want a new home. I want a, home, car, whatever. I want more money in the bank. I want more security in my life. I want whatever it is that you want, just put it down as that's the result I want. Great. So put it down. Then work backwards and start seeing like brainstorming steps that you'd love to do. And just, what would I love to do? So this is what I'd love to have. What would I love to do? Is there a parallel between love to have and love to do? And if there isn't, what am I willing to do to get the results I want? Okay. Relationship seems real good. So I mean, between you and your husband, I don't see anything that's particularly challenge, like nothing out of the normal, like no hiccups there. It's just, okay, let's move things forward and figure out a lifestyle that we want to do. And, you know, you don't really, you figured out something, you're now constructively bugging me in the polite way, not negatively, to figure out, okay, what are the next steps to become a mind model coach? I get it. And start moving it in that direction. So I completely understand. I have a number of people who are pushing me in that direction. So I'm trying to respond with putting the course material is actually together. I know what the material is. Now it's structuring it and finding time in my life and figuring out exactly what you want. So you could help me by defining what exactly your goals are with becoming a mind model coach. That's going to be one of the things that I need to find out. What do you want to do with this stuff? So once you have it, what do you want to do with it? Okay. Awesome. And that's about it for profiling, unless you have some other specific thing that you want me to profile you on.
No, that's a great start. I think that the clarity and the result is, you know, going to take some figuring out decisions, all that. Yeah. So
totally. Yep. It's not totally straightforward, but it's more straightforward than it was.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that. And you were spot on, by the way.
Oh, okay. So what was one takeaway from this, and where would you rank me 1 to 10?
I put you in a solid, probably 9 as far as the frustrations between my husband and I, because the way we speak and understand with each other is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. The taking offense of supposedly constructive criticism that wasn't coming across that way because it wasn't being effective in the way that it was communicated. So that was like, ding, ding.
Yeah. And that is normal, but it's not marriage threatening. Not by a long shot yet. It's just frustrating. Yeah.
Our marriage is fantastic too.
Yeah, so. Exactly. That's right. That's how come I said there's nothing wrong with the marriage. Just may not be as smooth as everybody would like, but that's fine. that's the way it goes.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So glad it all worked for you.
Yes.
And you have a good one. We'll be in touch. We will be definitely moving forward on putting together the mind model coaching program.
Are you going to be in Denver?
I am.
We'll see you there.
Okay, cool. I'll see you in Denver. Yep, absolutely. So, Trevor, if you're around, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you want to move Rebecca back, and that's about it for this week. And if you have any comments to wrap up with, that would be super.
Yeah, I was just going to refer to what we were doing next week.
Down there.
Pardon me?
See you in Denver. Oh, that was Jamie, and thanks from John. And hey, John, you were hitting it out of the park tonight. Well done, buddy.
Okay, so it looks like next week we were planning on covering the mind model of ask versus tell, from what I can see here. So
yeah, that's right.
That one's going to be a big one. I'd highly recommend coming out. I use it all the time.
You know what, guys? If you're doing ask versus tell sales, come out. relationship come out. And frankly, everywhere in your life, if you have to speak to somebody and have influence at work, come out. This one is absolutely essential. Okay, it's one of the foundation pieces. Okay, so come on out and get clear. So
awesome. Also, if you haven't bought the course, How to Rewire Your Mind for Wealth, we've been getting lots of good feedback from anybody that's been on here and bought the course. Obviously, we highly recommend you check it out if you've been getting a lot of value out of these webinars. The course is $500, and you can get it from the website at rewiringthemind.com. There's a link on there to order the product. So thanks for coming out, guys. And only other thing I'd mention is we are putting together a mind model coaching program as well.
Rebecca said the course is amazing. Jamie, my husband, is going to come this time.
Probably to Denver.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Cool. Yeah, the course, like that's what we've been getting, is it's been highly effective. So great.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks for coming out, guys.
And see you next week on the Blair Dunkley Experience. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.